Wow, what a difference a day makes. The weather has eased up, it's all looking good. We're going to head to Flinders today. Sal's opted to take the coastal route because there's a little bit of cloud inland, so all we have to do is keep Tasmania on our left. Let's go!
They're leaving the coast at the top of Tassie via St Helens. So once again, Sally Ann contacts Melbourne Centre to lodge her overwater skeds to safeguard their crossing over Bass Strait.
System 172, 3 POB. We're tracking St Helens to Flinders Island. Just leaving the Tasmanian coastline for Flinders Island and would like an optimal time of 30.
Echo Delta Delta, copy. Next call at 30, time now is 12.
It's only a short distance before the next landfall, but it's still worth the simple radio call it requires to have ATC monitoring your progress.
Centre, Cessna 172, Echo Delta Delta's approaching Flinders Island. Cancel overwater skids.
Echo Delta Delta, overwater skids, terminate, sir.
Thanks for that, Echo Delta Delta.
Flinders Island is another island blessed with beautiful landscape, but its location in the middle of Bass Strait means it's exposed to some pretty wild weather at times. Alex caught up with a local charter pilot who gives us some tips on what to expect.
I understand that you do have some issues here with wallabies and birds on the runway, is that right?
Yeah, birds especially. It's not so bad now, this runway's been fenced off completely, but yeah, we still have bird problems, but we get the airport managers to do runway inspections for us to get rid of the birds. It's mainly the seagulls.
Right.
On the outer islands, it's Cape Barren geese, and they're not scared of the aeroplane. When you're taxiing, if you try and drive up to a Cape Barren geese in a car, they'll be long gone. If you taxi up to a Cape Barren geese in an aeroplane, and they'll actually come at you. They put their wings out and they start flapping and they actually come at the aeroplane.
Apart from the birds, do they actually have any effect on the runway itself? Like, do the wallabies dig it up or anything?
Oh, on the outer islands they do. It's the wallabies and the wombats, they do damage the runways. So if you're going to some of the outer islands, it pays to check with someone like myself or someone on the island to do an inspection, because it can happen overnight. You know, they can dig bigger holes in the runway.
There's actually two runways on this island.
There is.
Are there any issues with weather with regards to either or of them?
Yeah, not so much here, but on some of the outer islands there's only one runway, so you do have problems with crosswind on some of the outer islands that we don't have here.
Yeah. What about turbulence off these hills that you can see behind us?
Yeah, turbulence and wind shear can be a real problem on Flinders and the outer islands. Places like Clark Island and Cape Barren, especially in a southwesterly, in a strong southwesterly, wind shear there can be quite dangerous, so you really need to be on your toes.
What about issues with fog, that kind of thing, low cloud?
Fog, not so much a problem here at White Mark, but it is down the other end of the island at Lady Barren.
Right.
But low cloud can be a real problem here at times as well.
So pilots need to have a bit more situational awareness when it is busy?
Yeah, you do. You really got to take note of your forecast before you leave, and ring someone on the island if you need to, which I quite often take phone calls from people wanting to know what the weather's like. They're coming down.
Do you get much pressure from passengers or, you know, non-locals who want to get back to the main island and you just had to make the call?
You do. It's not so much the locals because they've lived here and they know what the weather's like and so forth, but it's more pressure from people off the island that do put you under pressure at times to fly when the weather's not up to it, and you got to be able to say no.
Our crew leave the peace and quiet of Flinders behind, and Sally Ann contacts Melbourne Centre to lodge her third and final overwater skeds to complete her crossing of Bass Strait.
So Sal, what happens when you actually do ditch in the water? Are there certain things you have to be thinking about?
Hopefully you've thought about that before in part of your preparation. It's always a good idea to have completed a survival training for water.
Whilst an unlikely event on a carefully planned flight, the possibility of a water ditching cannot be ruled out. We speak to Peter Cummings from the Westpac Rescue Helicopter Service about the Hewitt ditching training they provide.
What we teach with our underwater escape training system is the procedure how to escape out of a sinking aircraft in the water situation. In the event of a ditching, make yourself aware of your emergency exits, how your seatbelt works. If you know that by second nature, you should have no problems in escaping out of the aircraft. The procedure is taught to you that you will follow the arm out from your emergency exit. If you've got one hand on your emergency exit, that's an indicator to say that that's the way to get out of the aircraft. Follow that arm straight out of the aircraft, whether it's a fixed wing or a helicopter. Once you clear the aircraft, you should have a May West on. Inflate your May West once you're clear and you've got all the other people with you. There's two positions that we teach. One is a group huddle. Everyone gets together, gather around in a big circle, get as much body contact as possible to get the body temperature up. The second one, if you're by yourself and you've got a life jacket on, adopt what we call the heat escape lessening posture, the help position. And that's basically just curl up into a ball, bring your knees up to your chest and use your May West to float in that position there. I would stay in the close vicinity of the aircraft. I'd be a little bit reluctant to attach a life raft if I was in a raft to the aircraft in case it sank on you and dragged you down. But I would try and stay in the close proximity to the aircraft for as long as it stayed floating. That becomes a really good location aid for searching aircraft.
Sally Ann's again opted to island hop across this last section of Bass Strait, flying via Deal and Hogan Islands. It makes for a safer flight and makes navigating easier.
Is there much restricted airspace or controlled airspace going into Moorabbin?
The steps are quite high out to the south here, but when we get closer up, there's a few restricted areas around that Phillip Island area. Also just to our east there is the East Vale restricted area. You just can't blast off through there. You've got to get a clearance to go up along those beaches there.
So it actually comes out from the coast?
Yeah.
With a complex layout of runways and taxiways, Moorabbin can be a daunting prospect for visiting pilots. To prepare for ground operations here once she has landed, Sal has taken the time to familiarise herself with the Moorabbin runway layout.
Clear to land, Echo Delta Delta. A firm and just for overnight parking.
We've just arrived at Moorabbin. Sally Ann is cancelling her SIRE time, and that's a really critical issue. 12,000 SIRE times expire every year without being cancelled by pilots. So set an alarm. Use your watch or your clock or your phone. The other important thing to remember is when you're travelling over water like we just have, and you've cancelled your overwater skeds, cancel your SIRE time as well when you get to your destination.
Skeds are different to a SAR time. So skeds are held by the local air traffic services unit that's responsible for that airspace, whereas the SAR times are held by our Sensar unit up in Brisbane. Now if you have a SAR time, the local controller's not normally aware that you have a SAR time established. So it's important to remember when you're cancelling skeds and SAR time to be sure to communicate clearly what it is you're cancelling. For example, if you were going from King Island to Moorabbin, you might have skeds established to operate over the King Island Cape Otway section of the route, but you'd keep your SAR time going until you got to Moorabbin. So when you got to Cape Otway, you just want to cancel the skeds. Going the other way, from Cape Otway to King Island, you probably want to cancel your skeds and your SAR time together. So you need to tell the controller that you're cancelling both so that they know to not only cancel the skeds locally, but also to pass on the SAR time cancellation to Brisbane.
They've got an early start in the morning and there's some bad weather on the forecast, so Sally Ann's got some important decisions to make about which route to take out of Melbourne. Make sure you tune in next episode to see how they go. And remember, you'll find more topics available on the Safety Topics page.